It's a new week and some crazy stuff has been happening in the world of AI. This week, Varun, I uploaded a picture of myself on Instagram and I just asked on my story saying, is this a good picture? Should I put it on my grid? And like 90% of the people replied saying, yes, 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 it's a great picture. You should put it on your grid. And then I uploaded a screenshot of a WhatsApp conversation I had with a friend where I asked her this question. And she said, yeah, it's a nice picture. Then I said, it's generated by AI. And and most of my friends replied saying, good picture. Then I said, generated by AI. They're all shocked. And then everybody found out that, oh, this is AI, this is AI. So officially, I had a first moment where, image generation is officially good enough to fool people, of me, that too. So yeah,
Would you put it on your grid? Would you pass it off as a real photo?
I think if I put it on my grid, it would pass off as a real photo. I think most people would not recognize. It's just that when I revealed to them that this was AI, they all go like, "Oh, I knew this was AI. I saw it." But I think there's a bias there. But I think most people would not have recognized it if I put my weight behind it and said, "Hey guys, here's me holding a Starbucks cup, in New York." They would not have. They would not have guessed.
Look at that Starbucks logo. The reconstruction is so good. The fingers are so good.
It's really good. And actually, this is the first time, Varun, I think it's gotten my body type accurate. Right? Like, that's what's surprising. Previously, I have used Midjourney and then I've used Face ID to put my face onto a similar body type. But here it feels like, yo, that's what I look like when I wear a t-shirt.
Yeah, and they look very, very, very real.
Yeah, it looks very accurate.
Would you consider this satisficing, which means it's good enough now for it to be like, okay, if there's any more improvement in this, it doesn't matter so much?
I think there is still scope for like 3 to 5% more improvement, but it's I think the last 10% has made a big difference. We've gone from fooling about 20-30% of the bottom tier to fooling about 70 to 80% of most people. And I think that's been the big leap, especially with Flux Lora. Let's just roll the intro, then we'll get into Flux Lora. All right, so how did we achieve this picture? Varun, I saw that you also uploaded a bunch of these photos on Twitter and Instagram. This is definitely, we have leveled up in terms of creating lifelike images of anyone. What do you think?
So I'll tell you the process, very simple. You can basically now train a simple Flux Lora. So I'll tell you what a Lora is, right? You don't train a full model, you train a small piece of the model. And then what you do is, in our case, we took maybe 10 pictures of me, or actually mine was about, I think, 25 pictures. Yours, I think, about 10 pictures. And then we trained this small little Lora. And then we said, hey, let's now generate images where you have the base Flux model, it's connected to the Lora, and then you're outputting these nice little pictures, right? These nice little fancy pictures. Dude, the training process is pretty seamless. Like, what I'm saying is, like, even if you don't know too much about ML, you could train this and get good outputs. I think it's more art to get good outputs. Like, I'll give you an example, okay? In all my pictures, before this run, I had a mic. Like, all my input images had a small microphone. So almost more than half of the images, when we prompted and we tried to get an output, the mic was there. So it learns things as long as it learns the things that are stable across different images. Right? For example, in your case, it would learn your face structure because it's pretty stable across many images. But for example, in your second image, you have a ring, right? And that ring looks very much like the ultra-human ring, right? Which you've worn in some images, and it's probably in some of your training data as well. And it's on the finger that you wear it in. Let's say this ultra-human ring, I was wearing it on the first finger, like this, the index finger. It would probably capture that and it would give me that, right? Unless that's something I didn't want. So what we learned is, as long as you have a particular thing that's stable between images and everything else changes. Like, for example, you're wearing different shirts. If you wore a blue shirt in all the Lora images, training images that you sent it will only generate you with blue shirts. Most likely generate you with blue shirts, right? The weight of that would be very, very strong. So that's what we learned. And I think the fun thing was the fact that I think it really helped us with thumbnails, because one of the things you can do with the Comfy UI workflow that we have, you can also generate text. You can say, Tanmay Bhatt, in a car showroom with the words Slipstream behind him, right? Or Tanmay Bhatt in a party with the words party behind him in neon lighting, and it generates really good text, right? Like, it's pretty accurate reconstruction of text. So I think thumbnails is we've been very obsessed with thumbnails, right? You've seen that we've been trying to crack it for a year and a half. Now our thumbnails are actually fully AI generated, including the text part. There's no manual person who's like editing it or whatever, right? It still gets maybe 5 out of 10 times, like half the times it gets text wrong, but it's okay because you can just generate one more and you can be like, what's the next output like? So over time, I think the only like thing that they can optimize here is to improve the text generation, but we are not very far. But what I found even more impressive than this is the videos, man. Like, have you tried this on Runway? Have you put this image on Runway?
Yeah, so we put this image on Runway, and then this was the output. And this was also really impressive, right? Like once it gets your face and body type this accurate, that the video gets elevated to a whole different level.
So let's share the Tanmay's video output. It's still maintaining your face structure, right?
Yeah, I mean the video is not actually as good as the image. When you look at the when you look at the video, you know that, oh, this is AI. But if you just, yeah, so this one is a much better video. See, this one is a much better video. It is more accurate. I think your Joker video is probably the best of the lot.
This one, right?
Yeah, it's probably the best of the lot. But it gets distorted towards the end. Like towards the end, it's probably.
So what do you think of this? Like the idea of you being able to make videos, it's very uncanny, you know. It feels very weird. It's like, hey, I was never there, and now there's an actual video of me moving around in a place where I wasn't there. Does it make you feel any different?
To me personally, no, because I used Midjourney plus Face ID to create actually, real lifelike images of myself. But I think we have leveled up in terms of creating lifelike images and videos. I think most people will be fooled now. I think initially, before this, people who knew AI existed would always be skeptical when they watch certain content. I think even despite the skepticism now, it's going to be hard to differentiate. I think, yeah, definitely a level up. So the workflow that you've made in order to replicate these images, why can't we turn it into a product?
So you can. The only thing, one of the sad things about products today, at least these kind of products today, is Akshay BD says it really well, right? He's like, apps have become content now. So you'll gain traction for like 6 months. You'll get like 500,000 users, 1 million users. We've seen this before, right? You'll get 1 million users, and then it'll slowly taper off as the next cool thing comes out, right? And somebody else gets hype on the next cool thing. So for us now, because we're a slightly large company, it's like we really have to think about, is this going to add enough delta, and is this going to be long-term delta, right? So the fear I have now is I don't want to build like an app that makes me small amount of money for a short period of time and then tapers out. It has to be long-term, like value addition, right? Plus, my worry with things like this is, and this is the thing with local laptops, right? The local laptops are getting good enough to just pack this in, right? They're just saying, hey, we'll just make it as part of, your laptop boot up. I mean, it'll just be one of the apps that comes bundled with your laptop. Same with phones, right? Like the new Pixels had this crazy feature where you can add somebody into the image. So if you take a picture of a group of people, if you are not in the image, you'll be like, somebody else hold it, I'll go stand in the image now. You retake the picture and then it merges the two pictures, right? So it's unlikely to me that a Google is not going to come out tomorrow and say, well, now we have this Flux Lora where you can, or an equivalent of Flux Lora, where you can generate whatever image of you wherever you want. Because people like that. People want that. I want to be able to prompt and get any image I want because it's so useful. Because for me, it's more because of content, right? Like it's very useful for thumbnails and for, B-roll. For many people, it'll be useful to just share with their friends. Like if you see Facebook, it's full of boomers like commenting on, random stuff. Like they'll look at some waterfall, AI generated waterfall, and be like, wow, so beautiful, nature is pretty, this, that. Okay, and the Facebook group page owner who's put up the AI generated images is basically just having a fun trip because he's not making money out of it either. So I think it's going to be on phones, man, and I don't want to take the risk of building it for a while. Like we built something on WhatsApp, and then Meta built their AI on WhatsApp right after a year. So
I don't want to.
Yeah, how is God in the Box still making money?
I mean, it still makes some money, not as much as before, and it's definitely declined. But it's declined because now Meta has an alternative. Like you would not be the wisest person to now use our tool when Meta has their own tool, right? Like, and it's baked in, it's free. Like, why would you pay money when something is free? So we've seen an obvious decline. I think thumbnail wise, this will be very useful, but I'll tell you what I've learned about business, right? Like, at least with AI, because we've been doing it for a while now. I think it is wiser to go to a company and say, hey, we will do thumbnails for you. We'll do a service for you. And then use these tools at the back end. Because I'll tell you how companies think, okay? Companies don't want to do the work. Even if you give them the tool, they're like, bro, we don't have somebody who can chalawafy the tool. Even if it's one prompt, we don't have somebody who can think about it, see the outputs, check if one output is better than the other. So you do one thing. What is the price of a thumbnail designer? Let's say it's 25K, 30K. I will pay you 25, 30K. You use whatever tool you want in the back end. What I'm hiring you for is your taste. You probably know what thumbnails work on YouTube. You generate, you decide which ones to go out. You A/B test 2-3 thumbnails, and then you keep the winner. You do that process for me as a service. So this idea of you will use a lot of these products behind the scenes to make your job easier. You won't manually make thumbnails anymore in Photoshop, or you might tweak it a little bit in Photoshop. You'll use these tools as the baseline to generate it, and you'll make money as a service, not as a product. Like, I think you'll make far more money as a service using these products behind the scenes, because like you've kept saying in the past, people are hiring you for your taste. I'm seeing a lot of kids do this too, and I think this is a good business because a lot of kids, at least freelancing kids, they get into this mistake of taking on too many projects. They'll take on 10 projects at a time, 20 projects at a time, and they're doing it alone. Like, I understand you take on 10 projects and you have 10 employees, then you can spread it. And what usually happens is they're not able to do justice to the third one onwards. Maybe 2 you can do at the same time. If you take the third one, you can't really do justice to it. With these tools, you can actually take on 10 projects, and you're purely now paid for your taste, right? Like, you look at the way we do content, right? Like, we have an AI avatar, like on my channel, on the short form, we have an AI avatar that creates the content. It's still my thought. Like, I still think about which ideas we should do and what's the narrative like. But AI converts that voice note that I sent into a script. We use HeyGen to kind of make the video. We use 11 Labs to make the audio. We've trained it well, the 11 Labs side at least. And then, it's edited by a human being as a service, and then it's put out on social media. So it's like, it's this amalgamation that I think people really want and they're willing to pay for. They're not willing to pay so much for tools. At max, you'll charge $9, then it'll go down. Some other guy will come and say, okay, it's now $4. Third guy will come and say, no, $1. Fifth guy will be like, it's free, it's on your phone. When you buy the Pixel phone, it's part of or an Apple phone, it's part of the OS. So you don't want to get commoditized via being a product, and somehow there seems to be a resurgence of services, but it seems to be a new kind of services. This is at least my learning. What do you think?
No, I agree with you, actually. I agree with you largely. I have been thinking about, so I've been tinkering around with trying to think of what is the next startup that I would want to play around with. And the more I think, the more it feels like, all right, maybe Atoms is the way to go. Yeah, that's becoming more and more clear.
What's Atoms?
Just physical things,
Hmm.
people, community, real estate, products, physical products. That sort of zone.
And services, right?
And services, especially in India, where the feeling is that just software doesn't make you money. You need a guy with a software, right? Like, you can't even enter a mall and just press a button and get the receipt. You need a guy there to press a button for you. So
yeah, is there a reason for that? Do you feel like it's different in the US? I mean, I have an experience from US, right? Like, I remember there's no person helping you at the car parking ticketing machines, okay? And our car was stuck there. We had rented a car. Our car was stuck at the ticketing machine, and for some reason, we had 2 cards, so I had forgotten my card in the other card, so I wasn't able to pay for the ticketing machine. And there was no human being there, no one to help us. We had cash. That machine wouldn't take cash. The people behind us really started shouting at us. Like, there was some bald guy, 40-year-old white man, who really was like, go back to your country, and like, he was saying like really bad stuff, right? So we're like,
I mean, fair enough.
Right. So
In my
bro,
country, there would be a guy here who would solve it.
no, it was like we had no help. We have cash. The thing requires a card, a specific type of card. I had my card. I hadn't picked up my card. The guy who was with me, his card wasn't working. So like, bro, can you help us 2 seconds? They're like, no, figure it out. And we're like, dude, this is our second day here. So it's a little bit hard. I feel like it's just a very cultural difference where there it's all, everyone does things by themselves. Here people like, help me.
There's a statement that I heard recently which is super fascinating, right? It's why service agencies matter, right? I think it's because of individualism and how we as a society curb it. For example, someone said to me recently saying, listen, you can't get fired as a manager for hiring like Nielsen or McKinsey. Like if you when you hire a brand or something with repute, you don't get fired, which is implying that you're actually making decisions not you're actually making decisions to not get fired, and or you're not rewarded for taking risks, right? That's why I think service agencies are in vogue, and rather or have always been in vogue.
Can I frame this a little better? If you're let's say a manager at a company, if you buy a tool, you are now responsible for the outcomes because you have to use the tool and give the outputs. If you hire an agency, you're like, bro, I hired them, they screwed up, their fault.
So yeah, you don't get fired for hiring hiring Nielsen or McKinsey. You don't.
Tanmay, you've probably seen those funny memes, right? Where someone's face and body take over a video, right? Like, I mean, previously you needed an online tool called Wiggle AI, where you had to pay for a subscription. But now you can generate for free with no cloud processing, everything locally on your laptop.
Okay, show me something cool on the laptop you have.
Okay, so we have been playing with this cool new AI Comfy UI workflow running on this laptop called Mimic Motion. Watch this.
Okay, that is definitely AI hallucinating right there. What are you doing?
Nothing. I think the main thing here is that, look, earlier all of these tools we saw on the cloud, right? We saw on these Discord servers and stuff. And now it's all coming locally. It's all something you can do on your laptop. And that's like phase 2 of AI, right? Like phase 1 was everything happens on the cloud. Phase 2 is now everything's happening on the laptop. This one's happening on the Intel Core ultra powered AI PCs. So let me show you how it works. The workflow is here. We'll just attach the workflow to the comments for anybody reading. Then you input a photo of myself and the video clip. Mimic Motion extracts the movement data and then applies it to my image. The AI acceleration in this processor makes generation lightning fast. So it happens very, very quickly. It's got an NPU inside of it.
Dude, these generations are like coming out like pretty fast. It's almost real time. I thought this needed like serious hardware.
Yeah, maybe in the past, but now you can do all of this with just a laptop.
And you guys can go check out the laptop as well. Just check out the link. And thanks to Intel for sponsoring this video.
Have you heard of an account on Twitter called Barry Stanton?
No.
So there's an account on Twitter, okay, recently. It got banned. So there's this guy without a DP. He had 140k followers and he's posting the most racist stuff about Indians. So he's calling them Pajits. He was talking about Indians and poo. And I went through his comments, right? Like pretty much everybody in the comments were supporting him. They were like, yeah, Indians are like this, Indians are like that. Like, so X had become like openly racist for a while. Like now this guy's got banned. And people didn't know what to do. Like people, like the more engagement you created, the more you complained about the guy, the more views he was getting.
No.
So-
Right. As of right now, the hate on India on X is at its all-time high. I'm seeing it on my timeline. I don't even engage with any of this stuff, but I'm seeing it on my timeline. I actually sent it to a couple of my friends in. I sent it to a couple of my friends in the valley, and I said, "Hey, are you guys also seeing this?" And they said, "Yeah, we're also seeing it on X." So it's not just you. It is
So,
that.
So as somebody who's done social media for a while, what's the right solution here? Do you engage? Do you not engage? Do you go band up and fight? Like what do you do? Like what should India do? Because you understand this better than anybody else.
If you are the new clickbait, it means you did something right? So Indians globally are taking more of a center stage. My personal opinion on this is that the world is going to be Darwinian, okay? Because of we are now entering an age where there's problem of abundance. There's too much information, so we're going to have Darwinian outcomes, which is dumb people will get affected by the abundance of info. Smart people will try to weed out, say, okay, this is not useful to me, this is not good for me, this is not good for mental health, and they'll keep getting smarter and smarter. So to me, as long as the smartest folks aren't racist, I don't give a shit, because the dumb folks are anyway racist. They're anyway going to fall for all this shit. They're anyway going to participate. Like the dude behind you at the stop at the whatever, what is it, Nakabandi version of the US or whatever. That dude was going to behave like that. He was going to ask you to go back to your country anyway. He just gets more encharged by this. So yeah, I would not engage. I would not bother. I mean, that's me personally.
But this will subconsciously affect their behaviors, because if people are openly calling Indians Pajit, then let's say a Scandinavian who's like planning to hire in India will be like, it seeps into their thinking, no? If it's openly okay to doing this.
It's not going to be just us. It's going to be everyone else. The question to ask yourself is, how do you guard yourself as an individual against this shit? Because that's what I want to think. Like, because I am as susceptible to this kind of behavior as anybody else.
So you would be off social media, or you would just not listen?
If you're off social media, that's the ideal. Or if you're on social media, you want to regulate it as much as possible, which is how much do I consume of it, etc., etc. Um, I don't know, man. And for me personally, I'm taking a break from shitting on the streets myself. I was doing it until last week, and this week I'm like, maybe I don't shit on the streets this week. I think that could help if I stop. Each person can bring a change on their own.
Interesting.
But I think it's just going to rise. The amount of engagement that account got, 50 people are looking at it and saying, I'll do the same thing now. So it's not going to stop. Like, how many accounts will Twitter ban? Like, my opinion is, you can't have free speech and not have some of this, because you can't go around banning every single account that posts this, and everyone's seeing I'm getting so much engagement so quickly, adding 10k followers a week. It's so much faster than you grinding and like actually making AI content and running Flux Lora experiments and all that, right? Like, this is hard. That is easy.
Varun,
So a lot
please
of people.
don't go around making racist tweets to get more followers. I know what you're
No,
thinking.
no, I won't do that.
No, I won't do that. I'm saying we've done the hard work over years, right? I mean, many of these people want like, okay, in 1 week I want X number of followers. And if the account gets banned, fine, make another one, get to it again. How many accounts can Twitter ban? Because they don't have a moderation team at this point, right? Or is it like 5 people at Twitter or something moderating? So my personal opinion is, I think we will all kind of say, okay, right now Indians are busy attacking each other. India is so vast and we have so many different things. I think eventually India needs to realize that there are like people outside who are in the business of demeaning India, and if we don't market India better to the rest of the world, like it's an advertising marketing problem. If you don't market India better to the rest of the world,
Then you.
Dude, it will happen on its
then-
own. I don't know what you're saying. It'll happen on its own. Like, if the economy grows, just better quality Indians will travel around the world as they have been for many years, right? Like it'll just happen on its own. Like, the more exposed people get, dude, it's a simple mathematical issue, right? The racism against India is about hygiene, etc., etc. All of it is a maths issue, dude. It's just a lot of people can't afford better hygiene. A lot of people can't afford to live a better life, and that's what gets highlighted. The more economically prosperous the country gets, the better it gets. The better hygiene everybody has, the more people that travel abroad, the better behaved they get. All of it takes time. It's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen in like the next decade, but it might take a little longer. But this is how things get better.
okay, the last thing we want to talk about today is, I've been seeing a lot of tweets about Claude 3.5 Sonnet and Cursor. Okay, so Claude 3.5, I mean, Claude Sonnet you've used, right, Tanmay? It's
Pretty awesome.
It's
We've
really
tried
good, really good, really good.
We've tried artifacts before, but now you have this thing called Cursor, which is this offline IDE that you can use that uses Sonnet, and basically tap, and it completes code for you, right? So now almost everyone, including the top tier, AI, like Kapati is like probably one of the most well-known AI engineers in the world, right? He's worked at Tesla, OpenAI. He's done ML for practically most of his life. He thinks that now the future of code is English. I mean, we've been saying this for 1.5 years and getting belted. We were showing the small, pieces of building out a website or an app, and we're saying, look, this is possible now. And over time, it's just getting more and more complex. Now everyone's like, in the next few months, English is prompting is going to be how you make an app, as long as you know what you want and you're able to kind of enunciate it, as long as you're able to describe it well. It's a new thing to do. Does it make people like you feel more empowered?
Dude,
Like, what does it do for you?
it's crazy. So I've been playing pickleball for the last like 6 months, right? I love pickleball. I have a gang of friends in Bombay that I play pickleball with. And it's the same 6 to 8 people that come to play pickleball. So much so that a month ago, I was like, guys, we should have our own app that can keep tabs on who's won how many games at pickleball. Okay.
Simple problem.
Simple problem, right? Or when we come, it's a gang of 6 people, we're playing for 2 hours. We should have our own tournament where teams of 2 and we play each other. There should be a round robin, semi-final, final. So they were like, oh, how to do it? So then I pinged a friend of mine who's an engineer. I sat with him on Claude and then we just made the app. It's done. Now he's helping me deploy it. He's helping me do all that and get it on my phone. But we just sat and made it. It's easy. I just had to describe the problem. I use simple English to describe the problem. Saying I need to be able to enter names of my friends, create teams, create a round robin table, okay? And then just input score and then move on after 2 rounds, semi-final, final.
In the product management world, this would be called user stories. But I think, we just found fancy ways, outside of actually writing code, we found fancy ways to rebrand English in different ways anyway over the last decade. I think that's now, anyone can type in English. The LLM will take, it'll help you. Like if you make a mistake, it'll be like, oh, maybe did you mean this? It's now generating code for you. I think in the next 1 or 2 years, it's going to generate full apps. Like we had a podcast with Imad on Overpowered. I don't know if you know this. And he said something very interesting, right? He's like, in a year, you'll be able to build out like a full Uber app with AI in 1 year, right? Maybe we should play that clip.
How far are we from actually generating, let's say, a complete complex tech architecture, like let's say an Uber app, or a level where it even thinks about the architectural decisions it has to make while coding something and not just generate snippets?
If you want to build a complete replica of Uber dynamically, I'd say 1 year.
It'll be done in a year?
Yeah.
And he's pretty confident that at that point, India will have to decide whether to upskill, do something else. Then he started talking about UBI. So, because India is very engineering services driven, right? And I think one big advantage for us, which someone needs to take advantage of, is we can sell our services abroad, right? We can still do the India to US thing, but say now we have AI assisted engineers in India who can, at $30,000 a year, who can do what people in the US do at 100K a year. So I think there's still a very big opportunity for Indians, but especially American engineers, because of their pricing and the fact that alternatives already exist and now AI is coming, they are going to be like first on the chopping block.
Yeah. It's a legitimate problem to solve. I agree. That was a good episode. I saw the episode with Imad. Anyway.
Awesome. So I think good episode. I think we got some interesting stuff, and every 6 months I think the tech is evolving to the point where a year or two later we'll probably be making full movies with AI.
Yeah. Cool. Looking forward. So I was writing a movie, so I should probably just junk that. Anyway, good chat. See you on the next episode.
Bye.